Joining us now is a guy who has a lot of inside information. Ladies and gentlemen, friend of the program, a man who's an Emmy Award winner, and he's fresh off a red eye out of Seattle, run on no sleep. Ladies and gentlemen, Peter Schrager.
Hey.
Schrags, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. It wasn't just a red eye, Pat. Red eye with a connection in Minneapolis.
Yeah, two red eyes. We like two red eyes. Yeah.
If I can just tell you, last night was the latest an NFL game has ever ended. I think I did the latest post-game interview ever in the history of sports. I did this thing at 1:30 Eastern, me and Sam Darnold. Basically, Darnold, I'm like, all right, up and down game. I'm like, I'm not even listening to what you're saying. I gotta get to the airport. Like, all right. It was great though. Darnold played well. The Seahawks, the elements, the everything was awesome. And then I run like I've never ran before. And I'm not AJ Hawk. I am not a runner. Okay. I run to the trucks and I'm like, where are we going? Let's go. And they're like, well, we got to wait for Orlovsky. I'm like, okay, well, I have a flight that takes off in about 30 minutes. Well, we got to wait for Orlovsky. Dan Orlovsky just called the game. Did a great job, by the way. Comes down, starts like, Striggs, we're good, bro. We're going to be fine. I'm like, no, if we miss this flight, I miss my kid's flag football game tomorrow. I don't get to go on McAfee. And Orlovsky's like, bro, we're good. Coolest customer. He just called the game. He's feeling himself. We get in the car. Our guy Steele is driving. We got Jeff Define, the producer, in the back. We got Creedence Clearwater Revival blasting. Okay, CCR blasting. We pull up to the Seattle airport, run to the gate, little line, TSA. Who knows what's going on in that world right now? We get through TSA. We get through security. We are the last ones on the plane. Orlovsky didn't break a sweat. I was a complete drenched mess. It's just our lives. We made the flight.
There we go.
Hell yeah.
Yes, you did. And that's Dana. That's quarterback. You know, that's Dano being a quarterback.
That's right.
Everybody mocks him because of the 11-yard end zone thing. But, he's got a lot of the qualities of a quarterback. You know, like, hey, let's not get, whoa, this ain't helping us right now. Okay, what you're doing right now.
That was it.
Not helping any of us right now. We kind of got to go ahead and do this. Now, Dan Orlovsky, he didn't book that flight. He had no backup plan. And he also had no idea about what was happening probably in that moment. Ignorance is bliss. Let's talk about you making the flight and also doing our show. We appreciate that. That game, What were you talking with Sam Darnold about? Were you talking about how their team was able to turn over so quickly whenever they kick Pete Carroll out the door? They paint over the walls. McDonald's taken out of the Baltimore Ravens defense. They're basically turning the page. DK Metcalf, see you later. We don't want you on the team anymore. Lockett, see you later. We don't want you on the team anymore. Geno, see you later. We don't want you on the team anymore. Brand new Seattle Seahawks. And they've turned the page here pretty quickly into a great team. Is that your takeaway from last night? Or the Houston Texans shite? And I love how explosive Jackson Smith and Jigba is able to one-step and dunk that thing as if he's 7 foot tall.
Yeah, let's start with the Seattle Seahawks because, and there I am on the sideline in that beautiful blazer, if you see on the near sideline. I talked to John Schneider, who's the GM, for a long time before the game, and Schneider's really the one constant. He's been there since 2010, and it's been through not only the Pete era, but the Russ era, and now we're changing guards, and now it's Mike McDonald and Sam Darnold. Pat, Sam Darnold's only 28 years old. He's only 28 years old. He started with the Jets at 21, and I thought it was fascinating talking to Sam for a while during the production meeting call. He's engaged. He just bought his first house of his life. He's always been a transient guy, renting in New York, renting in Carolina, renting in San Francisco, renting in Minnesota. And he's like, and I'm finally feeling the love that I'm wanted. And it's almost like sometimes it takes guys this long. And Darnold is so in control, is absolutely the leader of this team. And yesterday, he and Jackson Smith and Jigba looked as good as he looked with Justin Jefferson last year. It's unbelievable the connection they had. 8 catches, I think 153 yards, maybe something less than that. But every time that JSN was getting open, Sam had an eye on him and would hit him. And the two of them have this great connection. And he's like, this guy, not a diva, not a give me the ball, just does everything right. And the two of them are on the same exact wavelength. I loved watching these two connect. And I loved watching Mike McDonald, that's like very even-keeled guy who is a defensive first coach, putting the ball in Sam's hands and saying, Sam Darnold, you lead us there, our defense will do the rest. And oh boy, did they.
Yeah, I think Sam Darnold with his little revenge tour here that I'm a good player. Buying his first house is crazy to think about at the age of 28. Feeling the love is crazy. The fact that Minnesota just let him out of the building, also crazy every single week that continues. Jackson Smith and Jigba, one of those Ohio State wide receivers, you can't be a diva in there because there's another guy right behind you that's willing to take a spot. Go ahead, AJ.
Yeah, Schrager, what was the atmosphere like? On TV, I couldn't really, the game was, it was a slog at times. But what was the atmosphere like? Yeah. And also, though, about that Seattle Seahawks defense, can you talk about them a little bit? I think they obviously are under the radar for what they're doing.
Mm-hmm. J.J. Watt and I were texting, humble brag, during the game. I'm over there on the sidelines, and he's like, "I'm sorry, bro. I gotta turn it off. I can't keep my eyelids open." I'm like, I felt like I was watching Bruce Springsteen in a small New Jersey bar on the Jersey Shore, like the Stone Pony in the 70s. Like, if you're watching this game, you're one of the diehards. You're one of the early, and like, that's fine. What you missed was an atmosphere that was completely deflated at about the 10-minute mark of the second quarter because George Springer hits this home run. And it basically eliminates the Seattle Mariners from their first ever trip to the World Series. While that's happening, everyone's checking it on their phones in the crowd. They have it up on the big screen. It's a heartbreaker. And then the Seahawks defense is basically like, all right, not only do we have to carry our offense at times, we're going to carry this entire city sports fans on our back too, because they start showing up, and it's Leonard Williams, obviously, who's in his 11th year and is still as dominant as ever was. DeMarcus Lawrence is everywhere. Nwosu's everywhere. And you're looking around and you're like, oh my gosh, they play with their on fire. And here was the deal. It was interesting. This one should have been a safety. I don't want to say that. Mike McDonald lost his mind on this one. They called that forward progress. There was a third and short and there was a third and short and a fourth and short. And the Texans decided, Nick Caley, the offensive coordinator, said, let's run it both times. The Seattle defense just closed the door. Seattle turned the ball over 4 times yesterday. They also had a field goal blocked. It didn't seem to hurt them. They were up the entire time. It's because that defense did not let the Texans do anything on offense.
Yeah, and not doing anything on offense. The Texans, interesting story, brother. I mean, it's an interesting story just from a couple years back to what we were crowning them. You talk about J.J. Watt. J.J. Watt a couple years ago was like, we got the future. We got 10 years of greatness down here in Houston. They make some moves. They get rid of some people. They lose Bobby Slowick as the OC. They've looked like a very different team. After talking to them and getting to learn about them, what is their thoughts on where they stand right now?
Yeah, we met with C.J. Stroud. We met with D'Amico Ryans, Nick Caley, and Will Anderson in person, and Matt Burke, the defensive coordinator, in person late Sunday night. So it's like you really get a feel for where they're at. And they're hopeful that these young wide receivers can step up. I know D-Butt mentioned earlier that they have the two wide receivers from Iowa State that they drafted, and the hope is that like maybe they'll play a role. Well, they have to play a role now. You're out there, and it's Dalton Schultz and Nico Collins, basically the only guys that are established players at the wide receiver or tight end position. And the running back spot, Nick Chubb used to be one of the better running backs in the league. He hasn't really done that this year. And then Woody Marks is a nice complementary player, but like without Joe Mixon's leadership out there, with Nico Collins hurt, it just didn't feel like they had the weapons. Yeah. And then you get to the offensive line, and it's so young. It's a lot on C.J. Stroud, and he's not, he doesn't get no blame in this thing. He had some passes that were, on him, but for the most part, you're looking at this offense and you're like, wow, that was a really lopsided situation. That defense in Seattle, that offense in Houston. It might still be enough to win the AFC South and might challenge the Colts. We'll see.
Shut up.
It's not too late. It's not too early to say that the Colts
two red eyes. You had 2 red eyes last night. I understand. I understand.
Who's in the AFC South? Yeah. Oh yeah, the Colts are the best team in football.
The best team in the AFC. Yeah. Oh shit, I forgot about that. I understand. I respect where you're at because they have been running the AFC South for a long time.
They have.
And then they get C.J. Stroud, and it's like they're only going to get better, and then it's kind of
Stroud's won playoff games the last 2 years, right? They've gone to the final 4 of the conference the last 2 years. So you're like, we're going to take the next step. They move on from Slowick, which I thought was interesting. Nick Caley comes from the McVay tree, also had 8 years with Belichick. So it's like he's going to mesh those two systems. I just didn't get a feel for them last night on offense that they have the firepower to compete with a Kansas City an Indianapolis right now. And of course, you go up and down the board of all these AFC teams that are airing it out.
All right, Trakes. You're saying right now, you're saying a lot of things. I don't have to go back to your Lions take after what happened. We'll just skip that entire thing, okay? And the Dolphins, and we won't talk about that, okay?
So the Dolphins was bad.
Yeah. You had a lot of good ones, those Trakes. We're out here live in real time. It's going to happen to us all. But you talk about the Texans' defense. Here's some Hembo stats. Below is a non-comprehensive list of statistics in which the Texans' defense leads the NFL. Points per game, points per drive score, QBR allowed, EPA per play, pass EPA, which we know EPA matters when we're talking about that. Deal. But the Texans' defense is real. Yes. And that is certainly something that D'Amico Ryans probably has a lot of pride in. If the offense can get rolling, they get healthy, maybe get some more weapons. Maybe the Houston Texans are all the way back. But welcome to Danny Dimes, AFC South. Now, Danny Dimes, obviously, in the Colts on an incredible run right now and to continue for the rest of the season. D-Bud has a question for you, Schrager.
Yeah, well, on that note, the Texans, that defense, that is a reason to be optimistic. It's not just a complete shit show. You do have one of the best defenses in the league, so hopefully they can figure it out. But, Schrager, at this point in the season, what team do you see that can maybe, aside from the teams that are already hot, that came out of the gate hot, that can kind of get hot and make a run down the stretch?
Yeah, look, you look at the records right now, and it's like there's so many good teams. I think someone posted that in the NFC, there's 9 teams that are, half a game apart. You look at the 49ers right now, they're leading the NFC West. If the playoffs were today, they'd be the 2 seed. And that's with everyone injured. So you pick it. Now, the team that really intrigued me last week, and I could easily say the Patriots, they're 5-2. I thought the Bengals found some magic on Thursday night. And suddenly it's like, if Flacco can throw the ball 23 times to Jamar Chase and complete it 16 times and get 6 receptions to T. Higgins, and they have an offense, that was the plan all along. They were going to outscore you. That's what they did against Pittsburgh. Suddenly, you look at the Bengals. They're just 3-4. Do we know when Burrow's coming back? Do we know if Burrow's coming back? It might have been just a flash in the pan, but I will promise you this. That trade, they give up a 5th-round pick, and basically they're paying an extra $1 million here that the Browns don't have to pay to get Joe Flacco. That was not a white flag by any means. That trade for the Bengals was essentially them telling the rest of the league, no, we're not quitting. We see this isn't working, and the season's going down the drains, and we're swirling around. Like, we've got some fight in us. I thought that might have been the most impressive win of the week, and it happened all the way back on Thursday night. But Flacco suddenly gave life to this team, and that's the strength of their team. Higgins and Chase, that's who they pay the money to. So if you're wondering, well, what about the offensive line or the defensive line? It's not a priority as far as getting those guys their balls. And guess what? That's what they did. They outscored the Steelers, and they were able to make that very high-priced Steelers defense look very mediocre.
You can hear Tone all the way in Hammer, Don, sighing, saying, I know. Yep, there it is. Yep, there he is. Absolutely feeling that as you're saying it. And also, think about T. Higgins doing that slide at the end of the game so they can go for the game-winning field goal. That's a testament to their culture, I think. You talk about them saying this isn't a white flag. We understand it's not working. We want to keep going. T. Higgins getting paid all that money, having an opportunity to go ahead and maybe hit an incentive, maybe get another touchdown, especially fourth quarter, game-winning touchdown potentially against Pittsburgh Steelers. Instead, he slides. I think that it says a lot about the culture they have inside that building. I'm a fan as well. Now, there was a game that happened on Sunday that has only happened one other time since the 1970s merger. And it obviously happened to the New York Giants team, but it happened for the Denver Broncos team. So, Denver Broncos, good on you.
That's right. Yeah.
Good on you, Denver Broncos. That's an incredible display of resiliency and getting back into it. And I don't know if anybody's ever put 33 points up like that in a quarter after looking like such ass the first 3 quarters? And the answer is no, they haven't. Now, on the flip side of that, have we lost the moxie? Ty has a question for you.
Yeah, Schrags, what is the temperature? What are the vibes around the Giants right now? Obviously, a couple weeks ago, hey, this team's going to the playoffs. We might have a Hall of Fame quarterback, and then they have arguably the worst collapse in the history of the NFL. Is everyone still very high on the Giants with Scatabo and, Jackson Dart? And are we thinking, hey, Dable is going to be safe. He's going to be around. He showed enough the last couple weeks with Jackson Dart that everything's going to be okay, and we're kind of just playing with house money for the rest of the year.
No, Giants fans are depressed. They are completely, in misery form. And knowing my Giants fan friends and knowing people in the New York City area, not only do you have this terrible Jets team right now, you have a Giants team that for 55 minutes looked like they were going to go win the Super Bowl on Sunday and then completely, gave up everything in the final 10 minutes of this game. It was a historic loss. This is a team that was good enough to beat the 4-0 Chargers a couple of weeks ago. They were good enough to be up with the Cowboys with 13 seconds left. They were good enough to beat the defending Super Bowl champion. So you think, all right, got a shot. But then you lose to Spencer Rattler and the Saints, and then you lose in this fashion, and you wonder, well, what's missing here? They're young, but that's not an excuse. Up and down the roster, you could say, well, this guy played well, but this guy didn't play well in the moments that mattered. Then the coaching questions, it's game management. And then at the end, the defense completely giving up 33 points in the fourth quarter of a game that you had them shut out the first 3 quarters is so inexplicable that I think a lot of Giants fans and even the journalists covering the team are still numb trying to piece it together. Now,
the journalists are numb. That's deep. That is.
Show some grit.
No, they are. They're shell-shocked by this entire thing.
Understandable.
The journalists.
Truly a quagmire.
Yeah, it is a quagmire. They're flabbergasted, I believe, by the entirety of it. Are they not, Ty? What are some other predicaments that these journos feel?
Gobsmacked.
Oh,
would
gobsmacked?
certainly be, right at the top of the list there. Bamboozled, maybe.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
By the Broncos or by their own team there?
Well, it's actually one of those very rare double bamboozles. You're bamboozled by the Broncos coming back. You're also bamboozled by your own team, who, just at the most important moment, once again has failed you.
Okay, so do you think they're going to be okay after all the bamboozling and the obviously quagmire and gobsmackingness that's been happening to all the local journalists around the Giants?
Well, it's very interesting because you got the Super Bowl champions coming in, and they're going to be red-ashed after getting beat by the Giants just a couple weeks ago. So, in my opinion, Dable, the bamboozled needs to turn into the bamboozler. He needs to find a way to bamboozle that Philadelphia defense and stymie them once again, and I think that's what they're trying to do.
Okay, so
Stymie's a good word, too.
Yeah.
Stymie's a good word.
We got journalism over here. Look, that was Ty Pete right there. That was an actual journalist, the authority in it all. But you're saying that everybody's kind of gobsmacked, if you will, by the loss to the to the Broncos, which is a good thing, not a bad thing, I think.
Well, they gobsmacked, whatever. Then there's questions. Well, Graham Gano got hurt in the second week of the season. You sign Younghoe Koo. You're thinking he's going to be the kicker. Then they had, the Irish kid who's number 99. I can't get his name right now. And he missed.
Jude McAtamney. Jude McAtamney, lad.
He's missed 3 extra points. And you're like, should he be kicking for an NFL team right now? I don't know. Maybe there should have been another option there. I would imagine a move will be made, or that Gano is healthy to play Sunday. You can't trot out that same situation, but there's these little things that yes, we love Dart and Scattaboo, and we love the fact that this team responded when Malik Neighbors went down and still found a way to win games. But should they be 4-2 or 5-1 based on what I just rattled off? The Saints game, they had 5 turnovers and 5 straight possessions. Against the Cowboys, they were in that same deep prevent defense when they're just head scratching stuff.
Yeah. Brian Burns really pumped up about it.
Brian Burns not happy.
Not happy at all. Yeah, it sounds like a lot of people not happy. And McAtomney, this is life as a kicker, brother. You're going to be okay. I like that he owned it, took accountability for it. And I also appreciate the fact that the Irish lads now, because the international pathway is.
I saw McQuaid.
McQuaid said he's getting some terrible things said about him. It's this is the world of a kicker now. That is I don't like it. Somebody should have been a little bit more transparent with the.
Don't go out for dinner.
Exactly. Yeah. You should see these Irish NFL reporters talking about it. They're like, geez, the things they are saying.
7,500 kilometers away from his family, lads. Take it easy on him.
Yeah, they are. They're saying mean things. This guy. It's my daughter will never be a kicker in the NFL or in college.
Well,
amen.
Won't let her.
Okay.
No
fair.
chance.
Okay.
I think back whenever we're at the game, I'll watch a kicker jog out or even a punter jog out. I'm like, yeah, right, dude. Thank God I don't have to do that anymore. I have no idea how that was a chapter of my life. Because that McAtomney got such a good story for the NFL.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Got an Irish guy. Holy hell. This is a big
on
deal.
the Pathway program, which they've been promoting so hard everywhere.
This is awesome. 33-yard extra point. That's no big deal. And then you just hit it a little bit thin. And all of a sudden that thing goes to the right. And then it's like, get this Irish bastard out of our city. It's like, that's the opposite side of the coin, mate.
Yeah.
That's the other side, lad. They're tough enough for it, though. The Irish lads are tough for it.
Bounce back, lad.
But that's not going to be the first. There's going to be a lot of, I think the the international influence in sport, our sport, is going to come through ball kicking sports. So, like, it's been a lot of punters, obviously, because Australia and Jamie, Scottish, which comes from rugby as well. But I think as the soccer players come over, I think there is going to be a little bit of an adjustment to, like, hey, these people are expecting you to shut up, make these kicks. And if you don't, it is game, set, match. There's only 32 jobs, BA.
Yeah, my son had one of those. I know what you're talking about. He was an NFL kicker for a couple of years.
Jake was a kicker, right?
Yeah, and kicked for Buffalo and Atlanta.
And you thought to yourself every time he went out there, please, God, make the kick.
That's a nightmare as a parent. That's my worst nightmare as a parent, is have my kids.
It was hard in high school. It was hard in college.
Dude, my mom in college, there's no way she enjoyed any of the games. Not a single one.
Hard.
I'd go onto the field, and it's like this. And I ended up being the all-time leading scorer, and I still get death threats because of the situation that happened. One bad night, obviously, everything is talked about. But every time I went on the field for everything, a punt, my mom, please hit a good one. Please hit a good one. Then every single field goal, please snap good, hold good, block good, ball go through the uprights, please. And then she'll hear the reaction, and it's, thank God. And it's like she did that. Like when I went to punter, I think she was like, thank God. This one is a lot easier. Tough.
Because, sports is sports, but it's certain sports and certain moments where, like, okay, all right, your turn. Everybody's looking like
Zoomed
like
out.
golf. Like, okay, your turn. Everybody, and it's just
Pat, I'll never
crazy.
forget in Seattle, a wild card round game, Vikings versus Seahawks. I'm the reporter. It's 0 degrees out there. Blair Walsh, who had an amazing season, misses that little chippy. I'm the one at the locker, and Blair Walsh has 10 of us, slob journalists with a microphone in his face, and he's having to answer it. He's this world-class athlete, but it's like that's the job. It's a real burden. And even last night, Kyami Firebarn, who's one of the best kickers in football, at the end there's a situation where there's 2 minutes, 4 seconds left. If he kicks it straight out of bounds, the Texans get the ball with a timeout, or there's a timeout, and they can stop him before the 2-minute warning. Or if he blasts it through the end zone, they save a timeout also. Kicks it into the end zone. D'Amico Ryans looked like he's ready to lose his mind. Like, what are you doing? There's so many thin lines, and there's little grace from the fans when it comes to kickers.
Yeah, very little. Especially, we just saw a guy almost break his neck hitting each other, and then you come trotting out here. That's cute. Make the kick, dude. Okay, these guys, and obviously you got to know these kickers feel terrible. Okay, because they got to walk in that locker room. Like, everything you guys are saying in support of the other players, those actual other players are in the locker room where he's headed. So it is like you got to look these people in the eye that are sacrificing their bodies for the betterment of everything, and you just trotted out there and just ruined it for everybody. And then you got to be like, so sorry.
Yeah. Sorry, lads. Sorry, lads.
It's tough. They need to start telling these international kids like the actual reality of this entire thing, because McAtomney, I think he'll be strong enough to bounce back. But that's the real life of being a kicker. Now, let's move forward. Let's talk about teams that could potentially go and win Super Bowl. And then we got bye weeks happening already. Go ahead, Con Man.
Yeah, Schrags, the Bills were on a bye, so no one's really talking about them anymore. And it feels like everyone's low on them because of their loss to New England in prime time. But there's still another team that is very good. Even as a Patriots fan, I can foresee a massive Bills run in them winning the AFC East. But right now, times seem to be tough. What do you think about Buffalo's chances this year? Do you think it is one of those terrible situations, it's going to be a bad season, or do you think they'll figure it out and eventually go on and make a run at the Super Bowl? And with that being said, too, is there ever a chance that they don't win 10 games and they stay with McDermott forever?
Yeah, I did their last game, their Monday night game against the Falcons, where they look like a shell of themselves because of all the injuries. And you get down there in big time moments on 3rd and 1, and Joe Brady's calling a end around to Elijah Moore, and you're like, well, what is that call? And then you look on the field, and it's Elijah Moore, Shavers, no Dalton Kincaid, no Josh Palmer, he was hurt, and you're like, wait a second, is this the team that we thought was the class of the AFC, or is this team going to have to fight and crawl for everything and just put it all on Josh's shoulders? I do think there's too much experience, there's too much history, and there's too much talent at that quarterback spot for this team to just fade away. So to me, I have the Bills winning the Super Bowl this year. I have not changed that pick. I still think the Bills win the Super Bowl this year, and I think it is Josh Allen's time. The bye could not have come at a more perfect time for Buffalo, and they're going to come back healthier, and I would not be surprised if they come back scorched earth.
What were the records of the teams coming out of bye this week?
0-2 this week, 4-2 on the season now.
Okay, so because they were 4-0 the first week of byes coming back, and then this week they were 0-2. Texans, one of those teams, and then now we got the Bills. Now we're in bye season here.
Yep.
It would suck to be that first week like the Steelers were. I mean, that
Packers, too.
especially with how old that team is, and I don't want to, call them old, but you got a lot of old heads out there. So that being like week 5 and still having 13 more weeks on the other, that sucks. That absolutely sucks for them. Right now is when you get into the time where if it's a bye, it's like, we'll deal with it. This is a reasonable.
Oh, yeah.
Too late's not good either.
Nope.
Because then you can work your ass out of contention and not be able to catch up. Good.
I'm curious. Ravens out of the bye is what I'm fascinated by, because
they're
that was.
saying,
Well, everyone is. We're all like, oh yeah, there come the Ravens, but they have been terrible football team. So why is it? Here comes the Ravens.
Lamar missed yesterday, right? I think Lamar.
Yeah.
They're saying Lamar's hamstring's still not good.
because wait, I thought
So
Lamar
let's
was going to
see.
play coming out of the bye, which is why Lamar still and AFC North still favorites, everything like that. We're all saying, wait, hold the phone.
Early in the week, but yesterday.
Monday.
Monday, Monday, not a lot happening.
Yeah,
maybe.
But
exactly.
still.
No, we'll see. I was on Get Up, I think that Friday morning after the Steelers lost, and I think we all kind of agreed, like, well, here come the Ravens. And when everyone's saying something, it's like, here comes the Ravens. Why? I don't why. So they'll all get healthy and we'll see, but they
gotta
need
watch
to
your
actually
tone.
win these games.
You got to watch your tone, Shrakes. You got to watch your tone, okay, with your whys. Okay, your dog.
Chuck will be coming for you.
Yeah,
Chuck's coming for you.
All right, take a nap, brother. We appreciate your coverage and your commitment to the game. You're the man.
You are the best. And Sean, the Rain Man Kemp, belongs on that
Thank you.
dang Rushmore, the power dunker. Let's go.
He might be on the final Rushmore. At Rushmore on X, available now. You're the best, ladies and gentlemen. Peter Schrager.
Yeah, straight.